Hey everyone, this is Leaper. I've had the Yaw for about 2 months now, so I figured it's time for me to do an actual review. For those who've been watching my videos for the past couple of months, you know I've done quick 2-minute to 5-minute videos of different games and sims, trying to show the reaction of the motion to the game. But now I'd like to give you my impressions of the Yaw2. In bucking tradition, I'm going to tell you my overall thoughts right up front, and then I'll dig into the details of my evaluation of the Yaw. I love this thing. I think it's a fantastic device. It provides so much joy and immersion. I'm playing VR games probably a little too much nowadays. That would be my only downside. You're gonna want to just play a lot. That's my takeaway. I really, really enjoy this device. I think they've done a great job with the hardware. There are some kinks, which I'll discuss in a bit, which you've probably seen in other videos. But in reality, for a early prototype Kickstarter type of device, I am ecstatic with what the final product is. And they continue to improve and refine and take our feedback. So I know those of you who have yet to receive yours are going to enjoy the more polished version as time plays out. That said, I know some of you are jealous, and rightfully so. I was backer 136, and I did receive mine early in comparison to some people who had much lower numbers. I have a standard as opposed to a pro. I chose black on black. I didn't get the seat associated with it. All of that I figure probably contributed to me receiving it early. And I am, again, beyond ecstatic with the device and very appreciative and thankful that RNG rolled my way. So for those of you who haven't received yours yet, all I can say is, from my humble opinion, it will be worth the wait. It is a fantastic device. I just rave about it. My family knows. I have the kids on it on a regular basis. The wife's gone on it a few times on the roller coaster games, and she loves it. I won't be sharing any videos of her reactions because I want to stay married. But beyond that, it's just fantastic. And it has a lot of modification capabilities too, which I've touched on in a few other videos along the way. Some facts. I paid around $1,600 on the Kickstarter, and that included shipping and handling. I think that's a deal for what I got compared to other devices out there. The amount of range of motion that you have with this device, the responsiveness. You know, they had their first version, the Yaw1, which is, you know, a great device, and that's what inspired me to pay attention to this platform. Once I saw the concept designs of what this was going to look like, this looks like a so much more robust device. I don't have first-hand experience with the Yaw1, but I have to say that this device is built like a tank. It's robust, it's solid, it's strong, rigid. I put it through its paces, and I'm impressed with what I can do with it. A few points. I was backer 136, as I mentioned. I received the device on July 7th of 2022. I received notice that it was coming. Close to 2 weeks of the notice, I received the device. I've used this device at least 1 to 2 hours a day. Some days probably upwards of 4, maybe 5 hours. Probably not in consecutive use. Maybe a little in the morning, maybe a little at night on the weekends. But I love it, and I'm always looking for an opportunity to test something out, or just hop on for the pure sake of enjoying it. That said, there were a few items that I came across on first assembly. It came in 3 crates. Again, I didn't have the chair, so it came with the 70 kilogram large box, which had the main roll and pitch unit, the seat platform, few brackets, etc. That was the primary box. Next box down was 20 kilograms. That was the yaw platform, which is similar in size and weight to the roll pitch platform. And a 10 kilogram box, which I think was some odds and ends, some miscellaneous stuff. The drop indicator on one of the crates was showing red, and on the large crate looked like it was torn off, likely by the delivery company. When I first assembled the platform, I noticed a couple things. When I attached the yaw platform and the roll pitch platform, the tabs that have drilled holes did not line up exactly perfectly. I had to use a little more torque than I would have liked to thread those in. The rollers had come off in the delivery. There's 4 rollers for the pitch motion and 2 for the roll motion, and all 6 of those rollers had been dislodged in shipment. Another point that was taken was the mesh that holds the RJ45 cable and power into the seat unit in the back can become frayed if it's not positioned just right and clamped with the aluminum T-shaped bracket that is supplied. Watch out for that. Unfortunately, I feel, due to the impact indicators, that there might have been some damage done during shipment. I discovered that when I finished the assembly of the yaw and powered up the base yaw platform, it was not supplying voltage up to the roll pitch base. If I plugged in directly into the roll pitch base, everything functioned fine. Lights came on, motors ran, the system booted up, and I could use the system. For the first week or 2, I went with no yaw motion at all. Then I reached out to Yaw VR, and they graciously worked with me to troubleshoot some problems. And they came to the determination, much as myself, that if in transit it was damaged, likely a power line was making a great connection. I tried some more troubleshooting by powering both the roll pitch platform and the yaw platform, and lo and behold, everything worked. But of course, with both things plugged in, I cannot do a full 360 degrees of rotation. That is okay for my situation for a few factors. 1, my room will not accommodate a full 360 degrees. 2, I have a standard, and with all the peripheral devices I have on here, I need power. I do not have a Pro, so I do not have a clean means to supply power up to everything that would allow me to do a full 360 spin. And 3, God help me if I get in a flat spin in an F14 and this thing goes 360 degrees per second. I'm not great on spinny rides. Teacups, yeah. Roller coasters though, love them. Pitch, roll, I love it. This device, those are where I feel this device shines. I find it ironic that the device is called the Yaw2, the company's name is Yaw2. Of all 3 axes, that's, I feel, the least crucial. It does such a great job with the pitch and the roll. If I never got the yaw to work, I would have been okay. Fortunately, by supplying the dual power lines to it, like I mentioned before, I can get yaw to work. I have about 25 degrees range of motion, and that's enough. If I get into a spin, it will still oscillate and simulate some pretty erratic behavior. If I'm racing a car, I'll feel the tail end slide out if it breaks loose. Some other takeaway points. The 4-point harness works great. Sometimes, though, you don't want it or need it, and it gets in the way. It can irritate your back if you leave it placed down. I have another video where I show I mounted a few magnetic clamps which make keeping the harness out of the way but in easy reach a simple factor. Another modification that I'm particularly happy with is the Sci-Tech magnet clips that I used on my Oculus Quest 2. It's a 3D printed mount, again with magnets, that fit right inside the knuckle ring on the controllers. I have a couple steel pipes, one here that I also use to mount my Quest 2 to keep it out of the way for immediate storage, and another one under the desk. They're readily available. I can press the indented buttons to pop up different menus. I use virtual desktop with my Quest 2, and the left controller's indented button will bring up my Steam menu, and the indented button on the right controller allows me to recenter. So having those within arm's reach but in a safe location that will not get dislodged from the motion, fantastic. I was very happy to make that improvement. Another upgrade that I've done has been the Sim Racing Studio Hurricane fan kit. It's quite nice. It adds an extra level of immersion. You know, again, people think, well, do I need a fan kit? I'm not in an open cockpit or open race car. It adds a sensory experience that somewhat tricks your brain into you actually moving. And, as others have brought up, you can heat up quite a bit in the VR headset. Having these fans have the extra function of cooling you off a bit. I really like them. There are some DIY solutions that you can do it yourself, and people have that option. Speaking of Sim Racing Studio, I know this is a bit of a bone of contention for people. Yaw has their game engine, and I know they're working hard on it to make it a more refined software package. That's great. My first experiences with it, and I've gone back to it a couple times, have not been great. It has not been stable. There's been crashes. I feel it's a little bit of rub your belly, pat your head, sort of hopping through hoops. The different programs have different ways of accessing them. I don't find it overly clean yet, but I know they're improving it, so I'm going to give Yaw the benefit of the doubt. I know they'll improve it. The Sim Racing Studio software is fantastic. I was surprised how clean it worked right out of the gate. I had previously purchased a license for a butt kicker, and with that license also gave me access to the Yaw platform's capability. So it's no extra cost for me. But if I had to buy it, I'd have no qualms at all in paying the $50 or $15 a year premium subscription. It's absolutely worth it. For a $2,000 or more device, to have the peace of mind to use the software right now, early September 2022, where the game engine is spotty, to be able to use the SRS software, I'm so happy. As anyone who's seen my videos and channel, they must know that I am playing many different games successfully with this. I use DCS, I use War Thunder, I use Microsoft Flight Simulator, I use V-Racer Hyperbikes, I use Project Cars 2 and 3, Dirt Rally, Star Wars Squadron, Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky, several different programs, and SRS just works for me right out of the gate. Another thing about the game engine, the Yaw game engine, from my recollection, you launch it, make sure you have the plugins installed, each one gets tweaked somewhat differently. and you launch the game through there. If I have Sim Racing Studio running, I can launch the game through the virtual desktop Steam menu, which is usually the way that I prefer to do it. Saves me from having to launch it on the computer itself and taking the visor off or whatever. There's ways around it. I'm sure people who have experience with game engine, the Yaw game engine, might have critiques on what I said. Feel free to leave comments. Let me know if I'm approaching things improperly. Perfectly fine. I am quite happy with SRS. I will give the Yaw game engine another shot. It looks like there's a new version coming out that they're working on. We'll see. But I can always fall back on SRS because I own the license. I use a HOTAS setup. I originally had a Logitech X56, both stick and throttle. I recently bought a Thrustmaster Warthog. That has a really nice feel to it. I'm still using the X56 throttle. That's quite nice. I have the Logitech yoke and quadrant setup and a Thrustmaster force feedback wheel that I attach. I enjoy those. Like I said, racing games, flying games, I have so many options, so much flexibility with this device, and the immersion level is fantastic. I really get captivated in the programs and games that I'm in. I fly with my friend in War Thunder, and I have a blast. I gotta tell you, in the VR, it's fantastic. I feel over the flat screen, but with the motion and pulling a hard loop and having your tail blown off and spinning around, and it's just, once you guys get this thing, you are going to love it. I'm sure of it. Speaking of tails blown off and spinning, a few people have probably seen my ejection modification. I built this. There's an Arduino board in here and a reset switch. I'll put a link for the video associated with this if you want to find out more. I think having a pointing device like a trackball and a cordless keyboard are vital. You'd want to have those attached and readily available. I have a series of powered USB hubs, and with all the different devices plugged in, I'm making use of almost every port. And I have plans for a few more things. I'm currently building a collective for flying helicopters. I also recently attached a Stream Deck to the post on the desk. I 3D printed this bracket and have attached the Stream Deck. Comes in very handy. Easy for recording, easy for switching apps. I know there's talk of moving to the center table platform. I hope that is a better assembly for people and everyone will benefit from that. I'm content with the 2-post flat tabletop. But again, like I said, I hope for everyone else's sake that the center mounted one will be a better solution, more flexible, as I mentioned, easier to get in and out. I've recorded a brief sequence of me getting in and out. It might give you an idea of some of the challenges with that. I have a fair amount of weight on the device and a bunch of counterweight in the back. So speaking of weight, I'm 6 foot, 185 pounds. I have not the heaviest set of pedals, but a relatively heavy set of Thrustmaster pedals attached. And probably my heaviest device is my force feedback steering wheel. When that is all loaded up here, even with the 30 pounds of counterweight in the back, it's still front heavy. Not horrible, I don't feel the motors are struggling. And I'm running the motors at 50%. I have the roll rates almost max. I backed off 1 degree. I figured given that little buffer would prevent it from running to its full extent. The device can make a clanking noise if you overdrive it, especially if you have a lot of front weight and you're coming from a pitch back situation to a pitch forward situation. It can slam down hard. What I recommend doing is when you do a centered calibration, make sure it's pitched up a little more than needed, and that will give a little extra buffer range to prevent that from happening. That said, if you balance the weight properly and you don't have heavy pedals or heavy peripherals up front, you might not run into that. But from my personal experience, I have. Speaking of the motors, I'm running it at 50% and I feel it's plenty powerful. The app shows red line at 70% power. You may be able to go beyond it. I have no need for it. I was actually running it comfortably at 40% power before, but with the addition of the fans and a few other devices, it did make it a little more front heavy, so I did bump up the overall motor power back up to 50, the factory default. I guess that concludes my brief review. I hope all of you who are waiting for it will receive yours soon. I know that they're working on dealing with their supply issues. For those of you who are thinking about ordering one, are on the fence, for my personal opinion, if it's in your budget, do it. You won't regret it. It is a ton of fun. All right, thanks everyone. Take care.